What if the secret to a longer, happier life wasn't really about your diet or, how much you exercise or even your genes? What if it was something, well, far more primal, something just woven into who we are? What if it was as simple, but also as profound as who you choose to sit with, who you really, truly listen to, and who you share a story with?
It sounds almost deceptively simple, doesn't it? But the science, the compelling science that's emerging from decades of research is, well, it's overwhelmingly clear on this.
Absolutely. So today we're taking a deep dive into the happiness of connection, why relationships are key to long-term joy. We're going to kind of pull back the curtain on how our brains are literally wired for connection. We'll unpack why loneliness is as potent and damaging as a physical illness, and explore how even our modern digital interactions are shaping our social well-being. Get ready to unpack the surprising and frankly maybe life-changing science of what truly binds us together.
Yeah, and to really get a grip on this, we kind of have to start with what's arguably the longest-running study on human happiness and health ever done. I'm talking about the Harvard study of adult development. This isn't just some quick survey, it's this extraordinary longitudinal study. It spanned nearly 80 years now, meticulously tracking the lives of hundreds of people. It started with Harvard sophomores back in 1938, then expanded to include inner-city Boston residents, and eventually even their kids and partners.
Wow, nearly 80 years. That's incredible dedication to observation, just tracking real human lives like that. So, okay, after 8 decades, what did this huge research project find? What was the single most powerful predictor of long-term joy and good health? Was it, getting rich, becoming famous, having a super high IQ, or was it maybe down to good genes?
Well, what they found was, honestly, a revelation. And it consistently surprised the researchers, generation after generation, the most striking and powerful predictor. It wasn't any of those things. Not money, not fame, not IQ, not even genes. It was, without a doubt, the quality of their close relationships. The study just powerfully showed that actively tending to your relationships isn't just like a nice hobby. It's a profound, really fundamental form of self-care. It's as vital as eating well or getting exercise.
Right. So it's not just a nice to have, like a social bonus. It's actually essential for our well-being, for our very existence. Do we have any specific data points from this massive study that really drive this home? Any concrete findings?
Oh, absolutely. The data is very compelling. One of the most, astonishing findings was that the people who said they were most satisfied in their relationships at age 50, they were remarkably the healthiest at age 80. Just think about that for a second. Your relationship satisfaction in middle age was a better predictor of your physical health 3 decades later than things like your cholesterol levels.
Wow. Better than cholesterol.
Better than cholesterol levels. And Dr. Robert Waldinger, who's the current director of the study, he didn't mince words about it. He basically said, loneliness kills. He stated it's as powerful and detrimental to your health as smoking or alcoholism.
And that's a really chilling comparison. Framing loneliness not just as, an emotional state, but as a major public health issue, like addiction or a chronic disease. Can you maybe elaborate a bit? How does social isolation actually do that kind of damage, like smoking? What's happening inside our bodies?
Well, it's multifaceted, and honestly, it's pretty alarming. Chronic loneliness isn't just a feeling, you see. It actually triggers a state of heightened physiological stress. So this leads to increased levels of stress hormones, like cortisol. And over time, that can contribute to chronic inflammation throughout your body. And we know inflammation is a huge culprit in things like heart disease, diabetes, even some cancers. Loneliness also weakens our immune system, makes us more vulnerable to infections. It can mess with our sleep, raise blood pressure, even speed up cognitive decline. So yeah, it really is a kind of silent killer impacting almost every system in the body.
Okay, that really puts it into perspective. So it's not just about living longer then, it's about our overall vitality, our quality of life. What are some of the other sort of holistic health benefits that come from having strong, diverse social ties?
Exactly. It goes way beyond just adding years to your life. Strong and, importantly, diverse social ties are linked to reduced psychological stress, significantly lower risks for heart problems, an improved ability to fight off germs, and just generally a more positive, more resilient outlook on life. Dr. Sheldon Cohen at Carnegie Mellon University, he's done some really fascinating, very illustrative research on this exact point.
Okay, you mentioned Dr. Cohen's work at Carnegie Mellon. How does his research show these tangible health benefits, maybe with some memorable examples?
Yeah, Dr. Cohen's work is incredibly impactful. So in one really groundbreaking study, his team actually exposed over 200 healthy volunteers to the common cold virus. And what they found was pretty remarkable. The more diverse people's social networks were meaning, the more different types of connections they had, like family, friends, colleagues, maybe community groups, the less likely they were to actually develop a cold after being exposed.
Seriously. Just having different kinds of friends helps fight a cold.
It appears so.
Yeah.
And he also consistently found that having more diverse social connections correlated with healthier behaviors, generally like not smoking or avoiding excessive drinking, and also just reporting more positive emotions day to day.
That's just astonishing.
Yeah.
So your social circle can literally act like a shield against getting sick. And didn't Dr. Cohen also find that just feeling supported acts as a buffer against stress,
Yeah.
even if things are tough?
Exactly right. Yes. Even people who were going through high levels of conflict in their lives, if they also reported feeling high levels of social support, like knowing people had their back, they were significantly protected from getting ill, even when exposed to a virus, it really suggests that knowing you have people to rely on, that you're not alone, has a profound physiological protective effect. And here's another kind of surprising detail from his work. It just underscores the power of simple human interaction. Simply hugging frequently correlated with being less likely to develop an infection after a viral exposure.
What's hugging?
Just hugging. It really emphasizes the power of, physical contact and reassurance.
This whole idea of relationships being catalysts for positive change, even much later in life, that's incredibly hopeful, isn't it? It really pushes back against that old kind of rigid idea that our personalities are basically set like plaster by age 30. The Harvard study showed this so vividly, right? People facing huge struggles in their 20s could still become these, quote, wonderful octogenarians. It proves our capacity for growth and connection is lifelong. It can profoundly transform us.
And what's really fascinating here is that our brains aren't just sort of passively reacting to these relationships. They are literally profoundly wired for social bonds. This isn't just like a learned behavior. It's a deep biological imperative.
So it's not just a psychological preference or something we pick up over time. It's like fundamental biological programming right from the start.
Precisely. Our brains have specific, dedicated neural circuits just for forming and maintaining social bonds, whether that's the really intimate connection between an infant and a parent, or the camaraderie between friends, or that deep bond between romantic partners. And here's the kicker. These circuits are remarkably generic. The same basic pathways get repurposed and adapted for different kinds of social bonds throughout our lives. So, for instance, the reward systems in the brain that light up when a baby gets comfort from a parent reinforcing safety, belonging is actually very similar to the ones activated in adult romantic partnerships when we feel intimacy and trust. It's like our brain has this core connection operating system that just adapts to different relationship apps as we go through life. And the really exciting news for you, the listener, is that if you had challenging social bonds in the past, say in childhood, that doesn't automatically predetermine your adult relationships. The system has significant plasticity. It can genuinely rewire itself based on new, healthier experiences.
That is incredibly hopeful news. For anyone who's maybe struggled with relationships before, knowing that transformation is actually possible, neurologically possible. Okay, so if we're fundamentally wired for connection, how does that become a concrete biological drive? Is there really a social hunger that works like, say, our hunger for food?
It absolutely is, and that's a brilliant way to think about it. Just like we have that homeostatic drive for food to keep our energy levels balanced, our bodies and brains regulate a really powerful social hunger, and it uses a dedicated homeostatic circuit. This circuit involves a fascinating interplay of different parts. Our senses, for example, they act as the detector. They convert stuff from the environment, a friendly face, a comforting voice, even a familiar smell, into the electrical and chemical signals our nervous system uses. These signals then feed into the control center, that's the hypothalamus, deep in the brain. It's responsible for orchestrating a lot of our fundamental motivated drives, from thirst to aggression. And finally, there's a crucial effector, the dorsal raphe nucleus, or DRN. It's located in the midbrain.
The dorsal raphe nucleus. Okay, I think I've heard that linked to serotonin, which is usually associated with feelings of calm, satisfaction, that kind of thing. How does that fit with a hunger for connection, which sounds more like seeking something out?
That's a really insightful question, and it highlights an important nuance. While the DRN is definitely a major source of serotonin in the brain, there's a small but incredibly powerful group of neurons there that actually release dopamine.
Dopamine.
Exactly. And crucially, it's dopamine, that well-known neurochemical linked to drive, craving motivation reward that's released here. So when we lack the social interaction we expect or crave, dopamine gets released from the DRN, and that generates that seeking behavior, that really profound inner drive to go find social connections. It's a true, undeniable social hunger. It's basically the brain yelling, go find your people.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So that's why we might suddenly feel this almost physical urge to text a friend or scroll through social media or even just, I don't know, go for a walk where there are other people around, especially if we've been alone for a bit. And what about introverts versus extroverts? Does this social hunger model shed any light on those different personality types?
Oh, it offers a fantastic and I think profoundly empathetic new perspective. It really challenges a lot of common misconceptions. So, contrary to what people often think, introverts aren't necessarily antisocial. They don't inherently dislike social interaction. According to this model, introverts simply get more dopamine from less social interaction.
Interesting.
Which means they feel satisfied or full socially with sparser engagement. It's like someone who feels full after eating less food. So for all you introverts listening, next time someone calls you antisocial, you can just say, nope, I'm just incredibly dopamine efficient.
Huh, I like that.
Extroverts, on the other hand, seem to get less dopamine from interactions, relatively speaking, so they need more frequent, maybe more intense social engagement to feel fulfilled and keep that social hunger feeling at bay.
That completely reframes introversion and extroversion, doesn't it? Moves it away from being a judgment call to more of a neurobiological difference.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. And you mentioned a fourth component to this whole circuit earlier.
Yes, absolutely. The prefrontal cortex, or PFC, that's the part at the very front of our brain. It's the headquarters for higher level thinking, planning, conscious decision making. It acts as this critical fourth component because it allows us to consciously override those reflexive social urges sometimes. Or, conversely, to pursue connection strategically, even when our immediate gut feeling might be telling us otherwise. It's what lets you decide, okay, I'm going to go to this networking event, even though I'd rather stay home because you have a specific goal. Or choose to connect with a specific person. It provides that really crucial layer of subjective, conscious choice. It helps us navigate these complex social landscapes with intention.
That's truly fascinating. That intricate dance between our primal sort of unconscious drives and our deliberate conscious mind. But let's dig a bit deeper now into the actual mechanics.
Right.
How do we form these deep, lasting bonds? What are the key ingredients when we really genuinely connect with someone?
Well, at the very core of deep connection, we find what I often call the twin pillars: emotional and cognitive empathy. So emotional empathy, that's the visceral gut level thing. It's experiencing or sharing another person's physiological state. It's this remarkable synchronization, heart rate, breathing patterns, even tiny things like pupil size can sync up. It's about literally feeling what the other person feels, almost unconsciously at an autonomic level. You know, like feeling a pang in your own stomach when someone tells you about their anxiety, or feeling your chest tighten when a friend is sharing something heartbreaking. That's emotional empathy.
Right, so it's literally feeling with them, sensing their internal state. Okay, and then there's cognitive empathy. What's that about?
Yes, and cognitive empathy complements it perfectly. This is more about understanding how another person thinks about something, being able to see things from their mental perspective. It's not necessarily about agreeing with them. It's about genuinely understanding their viewpoint, their reasoning, their beliefs, even if those are totally different from your own. And strong, trusting social bonds, whether it's parent-child, romantic partners, close friends, they absolutely require both emotional and cognitive empathy. Research, including studies using things like trust games, consistently shows that high levels of both types of empathy predict whether people will act trustworthy and also whether they'll perceive trust from others.
That makes profound sense. You need to be both in sync emotionally and have that shared understanding mentally. It takes both. And speaking of synchronization, I heard about this incredible study where just listening to a story could actually sync up people's heart rates. That sounds like a really powerful, maybe even actionable tool for deepening connection.
It absolutely is, and it's a brilliant insight for you to consider using. A study did demonstrate that when people listen to the exact same story, even if they listened at different times, in different places, their heart rates actually synchronized.
Wow.
It just vividly shows how a common external focus, like a shared narrative, can align our internal physiological states. And this is an incredibly actionable tool. If you ever find social interactions a bit challenging, or maybe you're just looking for ways to deepen bonds with people you care about, Consciously focus on creating shared external experiences. Watching a movie together, playing a board game, enjoying a meal, even just discussing a common story like family history during the holidays, or a shared memory you both have. These things can profoundly synchronize your physiologies and act as this powerful bridge to deeper connection. I mean, think about the difference between just listening to music next to someone versus actually dancing with them. That shared physical activity often creates even more synchrony, a deeper bond.
That's a really practical and insightful tip, especially useful maybe during holidays or just anytime you want to strengthen bonds. Very cool. Now, beyond empathy and shared experiences,
Right.
there's also this powerful hormonal glue involved in bonding, isn't there?
There is indeed, and it's called oxytocin. This fascinating hormone-like molecule, it's intimately involved in almost every facet of social bonding. It gets released during social recognition, that comforting feeling when you see your people. That's partly oxytocin, and also during pair bonding, that profound connection you feel with your person. It plays a big role in sexual response too, and it's widely known for fostering feelings of trust. Oxytocin basically acts as a kind of bridging signal between nervous systems. It helps synchronize those physiological responses like heart rate, and its effects get significantly amplified by physical contact, like holding hands or a warm hug.
Okay, that brings us squarely into our modern world then, because it feels like we're more connected than ever before, right? With endless social media feeds, dating apps, digital platforms, we're theoretically in touch with thousands. But are we truly connecting on these deep, biologically wired levels we've just been talking about? There seems to be this huge paradox of choice going on.
You're hitting on perhaps one of the most crucial questions of our time.
Yeah.
I mean, think back to the relative simplicity of connection, maybe in a rom-com from the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Someone might go back to a high school reunion to find an old crush, or maybe they meet someone through mutual friends. Those connections felt, raw and real, often rooted in shared history and, frankly, limited options. Now contrast that with the age of abundance that social media and dating apps have brought us. Literally millions of profiles are just a tap or a swipe away.
So the fundamental shift isn't just the way we connect, it's our expectation around it. Instead of seeking a genuine connection, it feels like we're almost shopping for one, like browsing a catalog.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. This seemingly endless choice, this illusion of infinite options, it often leads to treating people like, disposable commodities. We can go from interested to done with a quick swipe, a quick click, without really investing the time or energy to get to know someone beyond the surface level. And this is precisely the paradox of plenty. Despite being, theoretically, more digitally connected than ever, study after study shows many people report feeling more isolated, more single than ever before. A Pew Research Center study, for example, found over half of online dating app users feel frustrated, even exhausted by the process. Yet, they keep swiping.
Why is that?
Well, they seem driven by this pervasive idea that someone better is always just around the corner, always just one more profile away.
Gosh, that constant searching, that constant evaluating, it must just drain your emotional bandwidth. Leave you feeling kind of empty before you've even really started. It really feels like this perfect match idea, fueled by endless options, stops us from appreciating real, imperfect, but maybe profoundly valuable connections right in front of us. What are the sort of deeper psychological costs of this commodification of relationships?
You've nailed it. The deeper psychological costs are pretty substantial. This constant search, it diminishes our capacity for patience, for perseverance in relationships. It makes us more likely to just give up on someone before we've even really tried because, hey, another option is just a click away, right? It can foster this culture of perpetual dissatisfaction where real relationships, with all their inevitable bumps and imperfections, just can't compete with the idealized, curated versions we see online. This can lead to increased anxiety about making the right choice, decreased commitment, and just a general unwillingness to invest the time and emotional energy needed to build deep, resilient bonds. We might be losing the ability to actually work through challenges when the exit door looks so easy to use.
That is a sobering thought. Definitely. However, it's also important to recognize that online connections aren't inherently bad or fake, are they? There must be some unexpected role they play in satisfying that biological wiring we talked about.
That's a really crucial distinction to make, yes. While face-to-face interaction remains profoundly vital for the deepest kinds of bonding, we absolutely have to acknowledge that online interactions do engage those same generic social bonding circuits we discussed. Think about it. When millions of people view the same online content, whether it's a viral video, a major news story, a popular live stream, they can experience shared mental narratives and potentially even some physiological synchronization, similar to the story listening study.
Huh, like a virtual shared experience.
Exactly. It can create this sense of collective effervescence, almost like being part of a crowd, even if you're physically alone. And even the oxytocin system, our hormonal glue, seems to play a role in how avidly people seek out and engage in online social interactions. So this fundamentally challenges that simplistic idea that online connections aren't real in some biological sense. They are different, absolutely, but they definitely tap into those core human needs for connection.
Okay, this has been a truly eye-opening deep dive. Really fascinating stuff about the science of human connection. Let's try and pull out the essential key takeaways for everyone listening.
Right. Firstly, and maybe most importantly, remember that decades of solid scientific research, like that incredible Harvard study, confirm it. Relationships are not just nice extras. They are absolutely foundational for our long-term health, our happiness, even our survival.
And secondly, really internalize that our brains are intrinsically wired for social connection. We have that powerful social hunger that functions just like any other biological drive for balance. It's not a weakness, it's a fundamental part of being human.
Thirdly, remember that building truly deep, satisfying bonds isn't passive. It takes conscious, continuous effort to cultivate both that emotional empathy feeling with someone and cognitive empathy, understanding their perspective. That means active listening, asking good questions, and intentionally creating those shared experiences that can literally sync you up.
And finally, in this modern world that's just overflowing with digital options and this feeling of endless choice, remember that the true richness of connection lies not in quantity, but in quality. It's found in the courageous act of being present, truly engaging, and genuinely investing in the people who matter.
So maybe here's a provocative thought for you to take away and mull over after this deep dive. In a world that often rewards endless scrolling and instant gratification, perhaps the most profound act of self-care and maybe the greatest path to real joy is the quiet, intentional commitment to truly see, hear, and deeply engage with the person right in front of you.
What small intentional step will you take today to deepen a connection that truly matters?